No property tax in the state of Florida. That is the discussion point today. My phone is blowing up about it. My name is Casey Joyner. We sell real estate in the panhandle of Florida, in the most beautiful part of Florida. I'm just going to throw it out there. 30A, Destin area, wherever you're watching this in Florida, I'm sorry. Beautiful beaches. But today we're talking about something that affects the entire state. And our governor, the most passionate guy in the country, okay? He really is on a mission to make Florida the best place to live possible. And he keeps coming up with these things, and he's done a lot. Whether all the insurance stuff we went through and everything. This latest one is really catching the headlines, and it's powering through. It's October. They're going to be voting on stuff in November. He's wanting to eliminate property taxes. Listen, I live here. I would love not to pay property tax. I'm of the mind, I know what property tax does, so I don't quite understand exactly how we're going to fund all this stuff. But let me say a blanket statement, because my first reaction was, I've got a 16 and a 13-year-old. My first reaction when I even heard this was, all right, how are we going to do things for schools? Like, they just got a new baseball stadium, football field, new buildings coming because we're busting at the seams because everybody wants to live here, move here, right? But how are we going to fund all this stuff? So here's the main thing as a blanket statement across all of these topic points. They're not letting this affect school tax. So most of these exemptions and elimination of property tax, this is not applying to school tax. From what I can see, nothing's changing on that end, okay? So we can throw out the discussion points. I mean, I've seen people ranting online about education is going to go down. None of that's being touched, okay? But property tax takes care of a lot of stuff, right? I'm not sure I even totally understand how we're going to fund that stuff unless we just Disney tax everything. You know what I mean? Like tourism. It's a big part of our economy. But what I'm going to do today is go over some high points for you. And then I'm going to break down the 8 proposals that are on the bill coming up around property tax, okay? Because you hear the flashy headline and it's like, man, no property tax. Well, there's some nuance, guys. There's always nuance in this political game, right? So, but let me do this real quick. I want to show you this. So these are some important things to understand, okay? So major changes on the ballot. These are some comments from DeSantis. This is quotes. It's a political game, not a serious attempt to get it done for the people. So his point here is he just wants to get rid of them. The only thing he wants on the ballot is no property tax, except for school tax. What they've come up with is, all right, we hear you. We're going to work toward it. Let's let them vote on 8 different options that represent the various points, okay? Here's another quote. He said, property taxes effectively require homeowners to pay rent to the government. Now, listen, if you are pro get rid of property taxes completely, this is like what you would put on your picket on your sign and march around the street. Hey, I own my home. I bought it. Why am I keep paying for it year over year? And I'm having to pay more for it because more people from California and states like that move here, drives our property taxes up on the values. I'm not selling my home, so the values are great, but I'm not selling it. Why do I keep paying? That's what they would say. That's what they are saying, okay? But to be honest with you, in all my years, that's never really been a talking point. Nobody's ever really called me and said, hey, Casey, we'd love to move there, but the property tax are preventing us. Our millage rates, for the most part, across Florida, as compared to other cities and states of people that come here, are very good. So compared to where they came from, the millage rate is good. It's just that our property values have risen so much, so it's an expense they have to take on. But I'm going to go through each of those and show you a couple other topics here. Why this matters. Rising home values equals higher tax. That's really the push on this. Since COVID, we have blown up. Everybody's house is worth so much more, but we're paying the price. Now, in the state of Florida, our homestead exemption, so if you're a resident, you're capped at 3% growth per year. So even though it may go up 10% or it was getting wilder than that during COVID, we were capped at 3% growth per year. So that helps, right? But as you'll learn through, we go through these proposals, there's a lot of people that are capped on their income that, I mean, that's 3% more out of the budget every year. They're just trying to live, right? So that's going to be a discussion point. Will shift how local services are funded. This is the confusing thing for me. I really don't understand how we're going to do everything if we just eliminate it. I've looked at it, still don't understand where all the money is going to come from. Okay. There's ideas. But man, that Florida property tax, that's a lot of money that the state's been used to, okay? So listen, here's another thing we're gonna do. Let me remove this, and I'm gonna go to an article. We've got a fantastic article, and I'm just gonna get right into it, okay? This is from Realtor.com, and I thought they did a really nice job. And what they did a really nice job is, we're gonna go through the 8 proposals that are on the docket, okay? That DeSantis says is gonna we're not gonna get anywhere because we're gonna be mixed voting on this. We're gonna see how you feel. You let me know how you feel. Is there one overwhelmingly that you would vote for, okay? That's the challenge. And I think that's why DeSantis is saying that, listen, if you want to kill a bill, if you want to kill an idea, give us 8 choices, because we're not going to be able to get the majority vote that we need to actually pass one of these. So we'll never see the day of it. So good job. Like that's how to not get anything done. Let me get some water, guys. I'm getting fired up here. That's how to not get anything done, is to put 8 different options out there that are actually all pretty decent ideas in some respects, and it's going to affect different people in different ways. Let's go through these, okay? HB 215, Realtor.com kind of ranked these and kind of put like, you'll see like minimal short-term relief. Let me just read into it, but I thought they did a fairly nice job. It's not exactly how I would have positioned it, but they did a really nice job. So HB 215, they're saying minimal short-term relief with maximum sustainability. Like, you're not going to see it early, but this is something that could last long. Unlike the other 7 proposals, HB 215, and this is important, isn't a constitutional amendment, but a statutory bill. That means lawmakers could pass it without waiting for a statewide vote. They can just put this one in order. The measure would require a 2/3 vote majority for any local government to raise millage rates, and would allow married couples to combine their homestead exemptions for up to $500,000 and protected value. So what they're saying is, because property taxes are not necessarily state, a lot of it goes local, right? So they're saying the local governments could vote and need 2/3 vote to actually raise anything. And then you're going to have people pitching, hey, this is why we need to raise it. We need to do this and that, right? And then people get to vote on it instead of just receiving the increase. Okay. So that's what this is saying. And then the exemptions up to $500,000 in protected value. That's caught a lot of attention, right? So in the short term, we wouldn't see like immediacy. Like, I wouldn't get my thing in the mail next year and it'd be like, oh man, thank you, DeSantis. Like but you would see that kind of play out over time, that those increases would get slower because you need vote to kind of think. And it would also probably bring more accountability to what we're doing. All right. HJR 213, modest relief with strong guardrails. All right. That's the way they put this one. HJR 213 would simply slow the pace of assessed value increases, capping growth at 3% every 3 years instead of 3% annually. I just told you our homestead exemption is 3% capped annually. 3% over every 3 years is not that bad. Now listen, this is 2025 and we've definitely leveled off on values, but the market for as a whole historically and over the last 10 years has gone up way more than that 3% per year. So if you break this down to every 3 years, that's pretty substantial, 1% a year. Let's put it like that, right? Over that time, it's still an increase, but it's a slower trickle and less of like opening up that piece of paper every year going, man, 3% on my growing value is like adding up every year because it's money out of the pocket, right? HJR 211, limited relief for movers and upgraders, okay? HJR 211 would expand Florida's Save Our Homes program by removing the cap on portability, allowing homeowners to transfer the full amount of their accumulated tax savings when moving to a property, okay? The measure would mainly benefit wealthier or long-term homeowners. So listen, a long-term homeowner is kind of where I apply. Let me paint this picture for you. I've been living in a house for 10 years. This happened to me. I need more parking spaces. My kids are going to start driving. We got more friends around. I wanted a little bit more size. Need is a strong word. I wanted a little bit more size. I've been enjoying locked in at 3% increase on my house for 10 years, paying into the property tax all that time. I had a talk with myself and like, Casey, in this market, yes, you can sell your house for double, but you're not paying double the property tax because of the cap. But if you go and sell your house and buy a new house, you're going to get reassessed at what that new house value is and start over from scratch. and be locked in at 3 and not get any credit for everything you've done to this point. So what this is doing is it's making that long-term play to need to move a little bit softer by giving you full credit for what you've already paid in, so that you don't just take on the new fresh tax burden at the new assessment. And that prevents a lot of people from actually moving to maybe a larger house if they need it or if they want it, because of the new, because they're just starting from scratch on the property tax, right? It's a tricky one, right? Because you've been in the state for 10 plus years, but if you go and buy a new house, you're basically treated like an outsider, at least in that initial tax assessment, right? So I see the point there, all right? But the reason they're saying the wealthy is an interesting one, that they would throw that in there. I see it more applying for long-term homeowners who, if you own a home for more than 10 years in the state of Florida, you're likely have some wealth built up from the equity, but you're going to be trading that in on something, right? So anyway, that wealthy comment is an interesting one. HJR 209, conditional relief for insured homeowners. Stand by for this one. This one caught me a little bit off guard. HJ 209 would create a $100,000 non-school property tax. There's that non-school again, but only for homeowners who maintain full property insurance coverage. Listen, when I first read that, I'm like, well, is that not like everybody? Guys, in this article and with other stats that I've looked into, and I was aware there was some that were not insured and covered, they're saying that 20% of residents in the state of Florida do not have homeowners insurance coverage. That's astounding to me. I honestly had no idea that the stat was that high. I think it has increased over the last couple of years due to what happened in the insurance industry, through some of the litigation, through just the amount of storms that we had, especially down around Tampa and stuff. I get it. But man, I had no idea. So this is actually incentivized for people to hang on to their property insurance, and they're going to get a break on the taxes. So the idea there is probably you can now afford it because we're going to give you a discount on the property tax. So that's an interesting approach, right? HJR 207, moderate relief with broad reach. But let me go back up real quick. Are you starting to see that there's different people would vote for this? If I'm in Florida right now and I can't afford my insurance, I might be voting for HJR 209, right? So that's going to dissipate. Like, I don't see that we're going to be able to get the one everybody likes. Maybe, we'll see. HJR 207, moderate relief with broad reach. HJR 207 would create a non-school property tax, we know that, equal to 25% of a home's assessed value, providing widespread but limited savings to homeowners across the state. Okay? So basically this would apply to everybody, 25% off your property tax. So moderate, not full, not like some of these other measures, 25% off that assessed value, and it would apply to everybody. Just a blanket, there it is, okay? So that's why they're labeling it moderate relief. It's relief, but by comparison to none, 25% compared to 100%, right? That's what they're saying, moderate. But everybody, this applies to everybody, right? Targeted relief for seniors. This is the one that came first to mind when you're thinking about the increases, even at 3%, even at a homestead tax, 3% a year. If you're on a fixed income, let's read this. HJR 205 would grant a full non-school property tax, we know, to homeowners age 65 and older, carving out the state's largest and most politically active voting bloc for targeted relief. But it runs the risk of creating a lock-in effect. Let me talk about that. So this is the one I thought of because at 65, the idea of retiring in Florida for the majority of that crowd is they're locked in on a fixed income. Well, if you're on a fixed income and you take inflation to it, bananas are going to go up, like eggs are going to go, like it's already more expensive. And you know, basically without a doubt, that property tax is probably going to go up 3% a year. Like you got to budget that in so your income's staying the same, but man, those costs keep piling up for you. So not only are you fighting inflation on a fixed income, but you got property tax to boot, right? So this is saying, let's give them some relief. Let's just target the seniors on the property tax. Let's lock them in at 65. They don't have to go up anymore, so they know what that bill is going to be every year. Look, I'm not opposed to that. The difference here is it's not widespread. So you got the rest of the state. Now, this is the largest demographic, right? Is what they're saying. And they're saying it's got the biggest political block. So they're trying to, on politics or votes, whoever's introducing this one. Look, I know they're out to help, but like this is going to get a lot of steam, right? But I just don't know if that many can carry the full vote that's needed to actually get it passed. I wouldn't be against this at all. I get it. You've done your deal, especially I'm mixed. Maybe if you've lived here for a certain amount of time and you hit 65, you're locked in. I get it. I want that when I'm 65. I'm going to be still slinging condos then. Call me when I'm 70. I'll take you around. But what I'm saying is that's the target there for that one, right? HJR 203, major relief but slow phase in. HJR 203 proposes a gradual elimination of non-school homestead tax, we know, over a 10-year period. Listen to this, increasing the exemption by $100,000 per year until the taxes disappear completely. This one's interesting. Front loaded. I hear you. Hit me the first year. It's going to go down the next year. It's going to go down the next year. It's going to go down after 10 years. I'm out. I'm done. Here's the part I don't understand. Like because here's where I would be. Like, I'm a guy that'll stay in a house for 10 years. I just sold one I stayed in for 10 years. I'm going to stay in the one I'm in for 10 years. But boy, if I'm done with my property taxes, if I were to sell out of this house or want to downsize and I've got to start over, which I think you would have to, if you sold after that 10-year period and you're done with property taxes, but if I sold my property and started over and downsized, I think I'd have to start over on the property tax again over 10 years. I got to look into that more, but I'm pretty sure that's what it said. So it's a great thing if you're a longevity player, if you're in it. But I think if you sell at the end of those 10 years, you got to start over. That's what I think. I'll look into that more. But that one's intriguing, especially for somebody like me that stays in a house for 10 years. Okay. Slow phase in, major relief, slow phase in. Not opposed to it. HJR 201, most relief, least sustainable. Let's call this the DeSantis jumbo bill, right? The most sweeping and politically potent proposal, HJ 201 would abolish all non-school property taxes beginning January 1, 2027. Guys, this is the one DeSantis just wants to have on the bill and nothing else. And I got to be honest with you. If it was just this, if this were the way DeSantis wanted it, and everybody in Tallahassee agreed and said, we're going to send it to the people, 201, let's get rid of the property tax except for the school starting January 2027. Maggie, who's going to edit this, Maggie, like cue in like rockets flying right now, like balloons. It would go nuts down here. It would be wild. Like on a selfish way, on the real estate side, the values, I think, if they knew they didn't have to pay property tax, like that least expensive, I mean, that eliminating that expensive line item every year, man, they're sprinting here. I don't think I got the inventory for the people that would be running here. Okay. Super interesting. And on paper, not on paper, out loud, that's an easy sell. Let me go interview. Let me take it to the streets. Hey, would you like to not pay property tax? Yes. Vote here. I gotta be real. I don't know how we're going to fund everything. Thank you for keeping it toward the schools. I know that we'll be able to build the buildings we need, get the schools we need, get the transportation for kids to school, invest in the teachers and the education. Thank you for keeping that and not messing with that. Political firestorm would never happen, but you know what I mean. But how in the world are we going to fund that thing? Okay. So, that's the talking point for me. Like, I really don't think they've done a good enough job. There's some talking points out there, but if I interviewed a bunch of people that are going to be voting on this, I don't think they can tell me exactly how we're going to fund all the things that we need. Big old Disney tax, I guess, tourism tax. Maybe we could just keep hitting everybody up for all these auxiliary things that keep coming in and making our state what it is. But I haven't seen that play out. Sounds good. But here's the overriding message that I would say to DeSantis, who he kills it. it's amazing. Like even the fact that he's talking about this and the stuff he gets done in the state, I'm pro the way that this state's shaping up. I am. Okay. Hopefully you are too. But here's what I'm saying. I think if he were able to get that number, that 201 on the bill by itself, I think 60% of my fellow Floridians would vote for it and end it. And I would love to tell you, I think that they would read through all the fine print on exactly, there's no such thing as a free lunch. I don't think it could last forever. It feels a little bit like we're going for class president in high school and we're telling everybody we're going to give them ice cream at lunch, but nobody's asking how you going to pay for that. Like I don't think it can last forever. I don't know how we do it, but boy, it sounds good. But to DeSantis's point, here's the other side of it, guys. I just read through those 8 points and I'm just going to be transparent. There's like several of those I could get behind. And I think that's the challenge. I mean, I can tell you what everybody over 65 is going to vote for, or everybody like getting close to 65. Then you got some not near 65 that's probably going to vote for something like, well, give me 25% off right now. Like, I'll take it. That sounds good. Or if you're without insurance right now, you're probably going to vote for the one that gives you a sustainability piece for keeping your insurance, right? You see what I mean? I think that's DeSantis's point. The way they've laid this out, like, I don't think we're going to get anything done. Now, here's my last point. I think what's going to come out of this as a overriding thing, and I congratulate DeSantis on trying to push this, something, not in November. I'd be shocked if one of these got the votes that it needed that stood out from the crowd. Maybe 201, but I just think there's enough people that don't think it's realistic, and I think that some selected targeting will go on there, and it won't happen. But something's going to come out of this, and I think over the next 2 years, we're going to see a significant reduction for homestead exemption in the state of Florida in some capacity. And it could be a variety of these things. You could see a bill that just has these bullet points. Hey, we're going to give you this, and then by the time you get 65, we're going to do this. You know what I mean? Like, take a couple of these and kind of mush them together. That's what I think might happen, but I don't think that laying out 8 of them, you got a big chance at all at getting something passed in November. But I'm going to come back to you and tell you. All right. Love to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Probably the state of Florida. Sorry about throwing that shot early about being in the best part of the state, but we love it up here in the Panhandle. Most beautiful beaches in Florida. I'm going to throw that out there too. If you don't feel that way, let me know, but it's a beautiful place. Love bringing this stuff to you guys. Bring me any information I'm missing. Would love to hear from it. I'm a student of this. I'm a resident here. I'm not talking from outside. That's the way I feel about it. That's what I'm seeing out there. And I'll continue to educate you guys as we move forward through this pretty fascinating process that we've got coming up. Appreciate you. Look forward to hearing from you soon.